mannequin the first.
So I've always struggled to get the same sort of workflow as I do in FL when using Ableton when it comes to doing 808 slides, especially for like drill 808s and things like that. So I used to try automating it in and doing it like that, and it just didn't have the same results, and it wasn't as sort of enjoyable as it was when I was using FL. I figured out a technique that works really well and is like just feels like using FL when doing the slides. It's like FL's obviously got the slide input MIDI note function. I don't know what they call it, but it's really good because you can put the slides in based on the note, and the length of the slide is the length of the MIDI. That's always really good. This technique in Ableton doesn't quite do that, but you don't really need that, and the results I've got I'm totally happy with. So that's what I'm looking at in this video, and I'm going to show you the way that I've sort of worked it into my workflow. The way that I do it now, so I don't have to bounce out to FL just to get the slides. Like, works just as good for me. Right, so I've already got a general idea for a track laid out, but I haven't put the bass down yet, so I'm going to go over the steps now of how I would do that. I've already loaded in an 808 sample that I like, and it's already in tune because you can see on the tuner that I have set up on my bass track that I've got it always there to check. So the same will apply to any sound. The first thing I need to do is go down to the voices and change them to 1, because you never want any of it overlapping. And you could, if you wanted, you could like open the release up just a little bit, just to make sure that you don't get too many clicks and pops, and the same on the attack. But you can always look at that stuff later. What we're going to look for mainly right now is the whole slide and the glide effect. So on Ableton Simpler, once you've dragged your sound in, if you go from the sample section, which it will default open in this section, if you go to the controls section and go down to glide and then click on portamento, which is one form of glide. I think this glide won't re-trigger the sample, portamento will re-trigger the sample once you've hit. So you're not going to tell much glide there, so I like to start from around just 80 milliseconds, because now you can hear that effect. And literally that's basically all you need to do to set it up, because the rest is really simple. Because if I say this is my root note, now even though the sound stopped, I've not let that key down, anywhere I play now will glide until I let go, and then it won't glide. Let's listen to the track. One tip for making sure your 808s are in key with the track as well is actually write them higher up, just to make sure that you're not, because sometimes when you're listening down to those low frequencies you can think something's in tune when it's not. Right. So I know that my 3 root notes are going to be D sharp, E and C sharp. They're sort of what I can maneuver around. But let's draw it in for now. I'm going to draw it a little bit higher, like I say. So let's go with that as a little rough idea. I'm going to keep it fairly simple. So then if I pitch that down, select it all, shift and down arrow. So now, without having to go and select a different tool, I can literally just draw in my where I want my slides to, which note I want them to go to. So then there, you would need to leave a little gap between both of them, because see how they glide down together? I don't want that to happen, so you can literally just back them off a little bit. So you can see straight away that's working the way you would expect and want it to work. Obviously I've written half of the part, so to make it more interesting you can go straight down to this section and hit duplicate, and that'll now make that twice as long and automatically duplicate the thing you did before. So now you can add some variation. So it's good to point out, so see this section here where I want the gap and I want that to kick straight in with a slide. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. So the best thing you can do to make 100% sure that it will is leave your low note in there, but move this along. Literally, if you hit command and right arrow, it'll move it the smallest amount it possibly can. So yeah, there'll be nothing audible about this, but that will trigger the slide. So that's quite an important thing to just bear in mind sometimes. It kind of works on and off. If you don't do that, it like makes its own mind up. So if you do that, it'll do it every time. And that's literally it. So the most important thing to remember is that when you go into the control section, to hit portamento and 80. You can go higher, like if I maybe knock this up to 110. It just gives a different type of feel. That's where you can experiment, but somewhere between 80 and maybe you could go up to 150. Let's have a look. Yeah, you can experiment with whatever you feel like works for you, but that's a general starting point and experiment from there. But that is the closest technique I've found to getting that FL workflow when working with 808 slides. So hopefully you found that video useful. I know it took me a while to find the best way to do it, but so far for me that's the fastest and most efficient way to do it, so I can keep the whole process moving. So yeah, that's it. That's how I do 808 slides in Ableton, and I don't think there's a better way.
MNKN.